Baseball season is here at last, and the excitement continues all season long at DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Why wait until the end of the season to claim victory when you can win huge cash every day? Hurry to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code PARDON to play for free. You could win part of the $300 million in prizes being awarded this season. Enter PARDON for free entry now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony, I'm hosting from Arizona today. Anything big happening back at the home office?
I'm Tony Kornheiser, not today. But tonight, phone party at Wilbon's empty house in Maryland. Afrojack is DJing.
Afrojack?
Yeah, Afrojack.
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 Who the hell is that?
I'm not exactly sure. I don't want to be pinned down.
Applejacks.
Applejack I've heard of.
Not Afrojack.
Hammerjacks in Baltimore I've heard of.
Yeah.
Afrojack I'm a little sketchy on, but I'm sure everyone is going to be there. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Texas needs a basketball coach. The NFL punishes the Browns and the Falcons, and Tom Izzo joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Kentucky, which finally got a good test from a good team over the weekend, and the Wildcats passed, coming from behind in the second half, down in the last 3 minutes to a near-perfect Notre Dame team. Kentucky held the Irish scoreless over the last 2:32 and survived the last-second bomb by Jaron Grant. Wilbon, is Kentucky now the definitive favorite against Wisconsin and the definitive favorite to win it all?
Definitive, no. They're the favorite. They should be the favorite. They're the best team. And I thought, Tony, people could look at a close game. I thought they played great in that game. By the way, I called you a couple of times. I didn't get an answer. Were you watching? Something going on? Everything okay?
I watched the entire first half, nodded out briefly, but came back strong for the last few minutes. Watch.
I'm going to let that slide for the most part. This was I thought, a terrific Kentucky performance, Tony, even though they nearly lost. A terrific Notre Dame performance. That game played out close to the way I thought. And I think the other games are going to be close too, Tony, whoever Kentucky plays. They got Wisconsin, whether they play Michigan State or Duke, if they advance. I expect that game. So no definitive favorite? No, I don't see it that way.
Yeah, I'm going to differ with you a little bit. I think Wisconsin is the game of the tournament. I don't think that either Michigan State or Duke is as big a challenge to Kentucky as Wisconsin will
really?
be. Yeah, I
wow.
don't. Now, the thing is, you watch the Notre Dame game, and Notre Dame surprised me very much in that they got to the rim with ease, and they rebounded very, very well against Kentucky. Wisconsin isn't going to get to the rim in the same way. They're a different team. They are a veteran team. They're as big almost as Kentucky. They don't panic because they've been together a long time. I expect it to be a really, really good game, and I give Wisconsin a real chance. But I still think it's 60-40 or 65-35. Kentucky, I've been saying a long time, I want to see them in a test against a really good team. I didn't value the SEC, and now I've seen it. So I am more impressed now, Mike, with Kentucky than I was going into that game.
Tony, I'm more impressed. But we've seen, you know what? I've lived too long. I've lived long enough now. I've seen Villanova beat Georgetown. I've seen NC State beat Houston. These were huge favorites. The rematch of Duke and Vegas 20-some years ago.
This is a 5-point game on the odds. This is not huge at all.
Okay, so definitive favorite? I don't know.
No, I don't think. But I would hope that somebody double teams Karl Anthony Towns at some point in this game.
Late in the game.
You'd like
late
to
in the
see
game
that.
particularly. Yeah. Tone, I guess the totally naive bracket head would take a look at a 7th seed reaching the Final Four and say that team doesn't belong. But Tom Izzo is making his 7th Final Four appearance since 1999. And a lot of college hoop junkies think he is on the coaching rung just underneath a little bit Mike Krzyzewski, who's making his record-tying 12th appearance in the Final Four. Okay, we know Duke is a top seed. We know Okafor and Winslow are 2 of the top 10 NBA prospects. Even with all that said, are you certain Duke is better than Michigan State?
Well, let's understand that the seeding committee got a lot of it right because 3 number ones got to the Final Four. But to seed Michigan State 7th is preposterous, and everybody understood that it was preposterous. You mentioned that Izzo may be on a rank just under Krzyzewski, but since 1999, he's been to 7 Final Fours, and nobody else, including Mike, has been to 7 in that time. What impresses me, and I think Duke is a favorite, I do, but what impresses me is defense on both teams. I mean, Louisville shot like 6 for 32 in the second half against Michigan State, and Duke in the last 8 or 10 minutes of the second half against Gonzaga really shut them down. So I don't think it'll be particularly high scoring. I give Duke a small edge, but again, if we're talking about definitive, no. I mean, I can see either team winning. So can you.
Yeah, Tony, I just see that these people as evenly matched. The teams, what the coaches have done in terms of accomplishments. Duke, the reason why I didn't pick Duke to go to the Final Four this year, Tony, is very simple. Defense. When the tournament started, or when March started, which I'm going to include the ACC tournament now, Duke was pretty far back defensively, statistically. And this is why I should pay no attention, listen to Charles Barkley, to advanced analytics. Because what Mike Krzyzewski and Duke did, they got better. They worked at it. They practiced. Yeah. They got better. They didn't make any trades. They didn't acquire anybody. They didn't change philosophies. They worked at something. They got better defensively, and they have been that throughout their March play. And so that makes a difference now. A little bit better. But definitively better than Michigan State, no chance as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, against Gonzaga, I think Duke got fortunate when Wiltshire missed that open layup. But there was a period of time there late in the game where they turned Gonzaga over 3 or 4 times in a row and limited Gonzaga to long threes. I mean, they played very well on defense. They did,
Tony.
Texas fired the best basketball coach he'd ever had over the weekend, Rick Barnes, who had gone to the NCAA tournament 16 times in his 17 seasons. 2 names immediately in play are Greg Marshall of Wichita State and Shaka Smart of Virginia Commonwealth, both of whom have been to the Final Four recently. Wilbon, if Texas lands either of these coaches, will it justify the firing of Rick Barnes?
No. Because you don't know that either one of those coaches is decorated as they are at their levels at the schools they've been at. You don't know what they're going to do as well as Rick Barnes, much less better. I mean, that's quite a bet. That's a big bet to take. Tony, but just sort of being more in touch with pro basketball circles, the names I'm hearing are pro basketball coaches that Texas may want to hire. And Avery Johnson's name is one of those that comes up. And it seems like Texas might be going in that direction. But I don't care who you hire. It don't justify firing Rick Barnes to me.
Yeah, Texas has a new AD, Steve Patterson, who in the last year or so has fired Mack Brown, basically, and fired Rick Barnes. So whoever they bring, Charlie Strong, and whoever they pick, they better be good, or Steve Patterson is not going to be there for a very long time. Rick Barnes made 16 NCAA tournaments in 17 seasons at a football school. USC is a football school. They never go. Right? Alabama's a football school. They never go. Ohio
State. He's going to another one. He's going to Tennessee, apparently, Tony.
Good.
He's going to another football school.
Well, that'll be all right. Ohio State's a football school. They've gone 13 out of 17, but not 16 out of 17. But I will say this, and I'll just concentrate on these college names. Greg Marshall and Shaka Smart are really good. They're really good.
They are.
They could be the right coaches for Texas. That doesn't mean that they're justified, as you say, in firing Barnes. And you got to beat Kansas. I mean, it's like beating Kentucky in the SEC. You got to beat Kansas. Can they beat Kansas?
Yeah, Tony, here's the problem. They operate completely differently, with a different kind of autonomy, with a different kind of appreciation. Marshall and Shaka Smart at the places where they are.
Not
they
a football
value
schools.
Basketball ahead of everything else in terms of, their recreation and sports emphasis. So it's a dicey deal to leave where they are and go to Texas.
You know how much money the oil business presents with Texas?
That's right.
You know how much money?
A lot of money, Tom. Everybody wants the Texas and Tennessee jobs, even though those programs have nowhere near the historical relevance of St. John's. The Johnnies are trying, Tone. They're swinging big. They're reportedly handing the keys to the one and only Chris Mullen. Tone, they've tried almost everything at St. John's. Is hiring the greatest player in the history of the program the way to go?
I grew up on Long Island, very close to St. John's in Queens. And when I was growing up, St. John's was one of the most 5 or 10 most important college basketball programs. Frank Mulzoff and then Louis Carnesecca. Louis Carnesecca left that school 23 years ago in 1992. Since that time, they've been once to the Sweet 16. Okay, they've only been 7 times to the tournament. The tradition ended there when Louis Carnesecca left. He's the best coach they ever had. He coached Chris Mullen. Chris Mullen is a huge name. But, Mike, he's never coached. He's never recruited. He spent most of the last 20 years, I think, living in California. I'm not sure that that's a turnaround circumstance for anybody right now.
Well, Tony, you can't be sure. There's no way to be sure. And you and I talked about this last week. St. John's and DePaul, 2 programs that, in the 80s were just constantly in the mix. We'd be talking about them, on this weekend that many years ago, but we're not anymore. But, Tony, to me, if you're St. John's, there's 2 people. You go to Chris Mullen or you go to Mark Jackson. And here's what I'm going to disagree with you about. I know living in California, you're 3,000 miles away. It's 3,000 miles. You don't travel it in a covered wagon anymore. Here's what Chris Mullen has done. He has gone and he has run teams. He has been in the front office at Golden State and Sacramento. I mean, I know that, okay, so Mark Jackson coached. The other half of rebuilding a program like this is the administrative part. Chris Mullen has done that. He has gone and become expert at things basketball St. John's is going to need. Yeah. So to me, it's Mark Jackson or Chris Mullen and Mark Jackson. They got to go that direction.
Without disagreeing with you, he's done all that in the pros. He hasn't sat in a recruit's home. The recruit's not going to know who he is. Maybe the parents are going to know who he is. No, Mike, he's done it. He's done it in the pros. New York is a pro town now, especially when the Nets moved to Brooklyn.
They don't know Mully. They don't know Mully, Tom.
Mike, you and I do. I'm not sure. And New York City basketball is not what it was when Chris played. It's not. The NFL hit the Browns and the Falcons today. Cleveland GM Ray Farmer was suspended without pay for the first 4 games of the season for allegedly texting coaches from the press box. Atlanta President Rich McKay suspended from the NFL Competition Committee for allowing crowd noise to be artificially pumped up at home games. And the Falcons consequently lost a 5th-round pick in 2016. Wilbon, overall, big deal, little deal, no deal?
Less than no deal, Tony. These are unimportant things to the NFL and the vehicle it is in terms of a sport and culture in America and for, the cultural change in America. I mean, the NFL is an enormous agent and entity, dominant. So don't tell me that pumping crowd noise in is something I'm going to get upset about if you dock somebody. These are ways that management, leadership at the top of the league can say, oh, look how tough we can get with our member clubs, and it's nothing. It doesn't even register text messaging. They should allow you to text message an employee if you want to do that during the game. This is junk, Tony, junk.
Yeah, I think it's a little deal. I think that the deal is that executives got hit, and it's usually just players, and that opens up a new path for the league to take, and I think that that's probably good. I agree with you completely. I don't understand what is illegal about text message. I just don't understand it. The rule makes no sense to me. What I found interesting is what is being churned up now, that Farmer didn't actually do it, that he's taken a bullet for the owner, your boy Jimmy Haslam, who you talk about all the time, and that he was the one doing the texting. So let him go to Tennessee. And because Cleveland is a disaster.
If you're Cleveland, you're a bigger disaster than when he bought the team, which is hard to imagine, Tony. And if you're Farmer, just might have bought an extension, some more years on your contract for taking the bullet for this joker. It's the Browns. I mean, seriously, I can't get worked up. It's nothing.
Let's take a break, but coming up, why does Michigan State get to the Final Four so often? We're going to ask Tom Izzo.
And later, the NFL suddenly decides to look into Bill Belichick's proposal for goal line cameras. What changed besides the fact that he embarrassed them? He embarrassed your boys, Stone.
What changed, I think, is that he's 100% right.
Of course, he's been right all along.
Baseball season is here at last, and the excitement continues all season long at DraftKings.com, the official daily fantasy partner of Major League Baseball. Daily fantasy means no season-long commitments. Why wait until the end of the season to claim victory when you can win huge cash every day? Hurry to DraftKings.com now and enter promo code PARDON to play for free. You could win part of the $300 million in prizes being awarded this season. Enter PARDON for free entry now at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com.
In a story we broke in our first segment, Michigan State is in the Final Four. We welcome in one of our favorite guests and the coach of the Spartans, Mr. Tom Izzo. We will start with this. We didn't expect this kind of run from your team. Be honest with us. Did you?
Well, I can't say I really did. I mean, if I was to be honest, I thought we were a better team than projected throughout the year. We just had so many overtime games and games that we lost at the free throw line. We were doing something right because we were right in all of them. And then we learned how to start winning them. I hate to say it, Michael, but at Northwestern we played really well. And then we went and played pretty well at Illinois. We played some good games on the road. And then probably our 2 biggest games were at home against Purdue and then Indiana on the road. We played those without Dawson. And then our Big Ten tournament run, we just started getting a little more confident. We won 12 out of 15, and we're not great, but we're not bad either.
Wilbon and I are not that smart, Tom, but we looked at your seeding as a 7, and we said this is ridiculous, and that was echoed by about 4 million people around the country. To this point, you've been in more Final Fours than any other coach this century. Any other coach. Is there something you know that they don't know?
Better get good assistants. And I'm not saying the best players, because we've got good players, but I know some have, higher ranked players, but guys that want to win, We've had a lot of great players here that call back, and no one bigger than the Magic Man. And I think winning is a big part of it. And you got a good staff, and I've had 2 of my guys been with me for over 10 years, and they understand what one and done is. They understand what one-day prep is. I think we've got a pretty good system, and just a lot of players who passionately care. And the ones that aren't here call back. The ones that are here listen to the ones that are calling back. It's the players that deserve a lot of the credit, and I mean that wholeheartedly.
I want to follow up on that point about these recruiting classes, because every year, Tom, the Uber recruits, the celebrity recruits, they seem to go elsewhere. And I wonder, does it matter to you? I mean, you get guys who get to the Final Four. Do you want those Uber one-and-done guys, or does it matter philosophically to you?
Sure I do. Everybody wants the best players, and I'm no different than anyone else. And we get our share. I mean, we've had our share of McDonald's All-Americans, and, maybe not quite as many as some. But what I'm really interested in, whether they're here 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years, is winning a championship, is getting to a Final Four, is winning the Big Ten, is getting better. Are those things important? If those things are important, or are you just renting a spot? If they're important to win, if they're 1 year or 4 years, doesn't bother me.
In March, you are consistently better than you were prior to March. And it's not just this year, it's year after year after year. Without being modest, why is that? What do you do in March that makes your team significantly better?
Tony, I think it's what we do in November and December that makes our team significantly better. We've always had almost the most losses in the Final Four every year we've been there. I got an AD who's crazy, and we're playing on aircraft carriers. We're playing in Germany. We're playing, on football fields in Ford Field. But we're playing Kentucky and North Carolina and UConn and Duke. And, this year it was Notre Dame and Duke and Kansas. And I think we take our lumps early. And then you're never rated as high. And then you're kind of, your players have been KO'd a little bit, knocked down. And if they can survive that, they know where they are. They know where they need to be to play against the best. And I think that's what's helped us in March more than anything. We've got a barometer of how good we are because of how we played in November and December.
We'll get you out of here on this. I don't know if you've packed for 6 games all the time, but you're always wearing a green tie. It's tough to find green ties. How many green ties do you actually own?
The last game, or 2 games ago, I didn't wear one. So you weren't very observant. But when I don't wear one, I got 500. Oh, okay, he was asleep. But I got 550,000 alums. And 500,000 of those alums kind of email me and say, why aren't you wearing a green tie? When you've been here as long as I have, you got every kind of green tie known to man. I can't wear the same one more than 10 times or my wife gets mad.
Thank you, as always, for joining us, Tom, and congratulations.
And thanks to you guys. I enjoy your show and appreciate having me on.
We're taking one last break, but still to come. Did Wilbon's Cubs make a mistake by sending their best hitter to the minors today?
And Tiger Woods falls below number 100 in the world rankings for the first time since he was about 10 years old. How bothered should he be? Tony, I got one thing to say. Big Ten.
Yeah.
Big Ten, Tony.
No, you've been Big Ten. Happy time, people. Happy 26th birthday, Chris Sale. The White Sox left-hander had a fabulous 2.17 ERA last year, but he had elbow problems limiting him last season. Last month, he broke his foot at home. He's only thrown simulated innings thus far in spring training, on track to be back April 12th.
Yeah, Tony, that's a little worrisome. You want to have your ace starting the season coming off a strong spring. And Sale is their ace, but they don't have him ready to go on opening night.
Happy anniversary, Duke. On this day 24 years ago, the Blue Devils ended UNLV's run at an undefeated season with a 79-77 victory in the Final Four. Wisconsin finds itself in the same position this year, having lost to Kentucky last year in the Final Four, as Duke lost to UNLV the previous year, and now getting a rematch like Duke at an undefeated team.
Tony, you're setting up the revenge motive, I see.
Yeah, we got to set up something.
That was a great game.
Happy trails, Chris Bryant, the power-hitting Cubs prospect who was a star of spring training with 9 home runs, was sent to AAA today. And the question is, will he be back in April, or will the Cubs wait until June to gain even more time against arbitration and free agency?
April's fine if he comes back then. They also sit down Javi Baez and Addison Russell. This is Tony. People need to chill out on the Cubs as if they're going to start off and go 40-2 and win the World Series. Chill. These are kids. They'll get there.
But you think he'll be back in April, don't you? They won't wait.
You know what, Tony? I hope so. If he's there, if it's June, he and his agent can, step off. Let the team decide what they're going to do.
No errors today. Let's go to the big finish. Albert Breer reports that the NFL will look into Bill Belichick's idea of having cameras on the goal line. Are you surprised?
No, he embarrassed them. They need to do this. Don't investigate it. Do it. Daryl Morey says the Rockets can win the title with or without Patrick Beverley. How should that make him feel?
I actually think it should make him feel rather irrelevant and unappreciated. I mean, he's important to the team, and you got a GM saying it doesn't matter.
Well, you got James Harden, though. He's still there.
Tiger has fallen below number 100 in the world rankings for the first time since 1996. Do you think that bothers him?
Not as much as he can't win or contend anymore. That's got to bother him more. Manny Pacquiao's been suffering from calf cramps. Big deal?
I think it could be. I think it could set up the first-round DQ or knockout or something like that. It's an excuse tailor-made already. Last one, UConn versus Dayton tonight in the Women's Elite Eight. Are you smelling upset?
No, Tony. I think South Carolina's Dawn Staley coaching is the only team that could possibly, but I don't know about that either.
They lost by 40 the last time. We're out of time. We'll try to do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great Monday night, you knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes. Wayne Blackshear, shout out Academic All America.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Your home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.